Армения вслед за Украиной получит от
Armenia will
Франции
receive
самоходные
Caesar's
гаубицы
self-propelled
«Цезарь».
howitzers from France after
Контракт
Ukraine.
подписан во время
The contract was
визита
signed
главы
during the visit of the
Минобороны
head of the
Армении
Armenian Defense
Папекяна в
Ministry,
Париж. Он
Papakian,
там
to
встретился
Paris.
с Ле
He
Корню,
met
и Ле
with Le
Корню
Cornu there,
назвал
and
эту
Le
встречу
Cornu
теплой и
described the
продуктивной.
meeting as
Как, на
warm
ваш
and
взгляд, можно
productive.
охарактеризовать
How, in
подобные
your
действия
opinion, can
французских
such actions of the
властей?
French authorities be
Почему они с
characterized?
такой
Why do they
настойчивостью
arm Ukraine
вооружают
and now Armenia with such
тут
persistence?
Украину, теперь
Ukraine,
Армению?
now Armenia?
Because, on the one hand, this is part of Paris's policy, to be everywhere without bearing any responsibility. If they wanted to be responsible, they had a million opportunities, one of them being the Minsk agreements. Then we found out it was just a screen. And the true manifestation was something else, unconditional support for the Kiev regime on the anti-Russian track. And in fact, all these peace accords, the Minsk Accords, Paris was not interested. That's a direct quote from Oland. That's how he phrased it. He said it after Angela Merkel, who said the same thing about Germany. On the other hand, we understand very well if we talk about the region of the Caucasus. We understand very well that there is a peace plan, a step-by-step roadmap, literally, to normalize the situation there, to open up opportunities for economic humanitarian plan, to build transportation logistics, for the purpose of mutual cooperation. And all of this is included in the relevant agreements that have been reached between Baku, Yerevan, and Moscow. Moscow as a mediator, honest, open, treating both countries as close states and peoples, and itself being an interested party, including in the bonuses that peace and stability will bring, and to us, as a state. And this causes wild jealousy and bitterness in the West, which has considered it a zone of its interests. And having failed to make any headway on the peace track is simply, in my opinion, cooking up a case for another one of these, so to speak, chaos, the politics of chaos, and perhaps it will be seen as revenge for the peace-loving efforts that Russia has made. Russia, which have yielded concrete results and charted the way out of a long-standing, let's say, deadlock. After all, the way was found, the solutions were found, it was just necessary to implement what was agreed upon. But as you realize, I guess like a person, you know, there's an expression, there's one counselor on every shoulder, there's one counselor and another counselor. One advises something good, the other advises something bad. It seems to me that right now the people who are throwing proposals into the region, like Paris is doing, and doing things that Paris is doing, is the kind of bad advice that leads to trouble. We are hearing rhetoric that is blatantly rhetorical, not in terms of aiming at peaceful resolution, but precisely in terms of rekindling the potential for conflict. The potential for conflict all over again. And this is all being said by French officials. And the saddest thing about this situation is that they will not bear any responsibility. It's going to be people who are going to suffer again, who will be forced to participate in clearing the rubble of another conflict, who will once again be thrown into the furnace of someone else's ambitions and other people's interests, as has unfortunately happened many times. Once again, there are all the agreements on the table made in the 22nd year, where the sincerely wanting peace, the parties come to an agreement. We proceeded from that. That is what the statement sounded like, that everyone sincerely wants peace and stability in the region. This is the road worth taking. I want to repeat that Paris is not guided by the interests of Armenia or the interests of its people. It seeks to use Yerevan as a tool to achieve its own opportunistic goals. I will give you the proof. There were many countries in the world, particularly former French colonies, which had very close ties with France in different ways. Joint projects, joint business. There was already a shared history. And even them. Paris has screwed them over more than once. Look at the continent of Africa. Look at New Caledonia. Look at Mali. There are tons of examples. Yes, I understand the large diaspora living in Paris, people who have ties to Armenia, but that would be no guarantee against the destructive policies that Paris is pursuing elsewhere in the world and will pursue in this region as well. Unfortunately, I would like to be wrong, but alas, the prospects are not rosy if Paris becomes the very force that will turn Yerevan away from a real settlement in favor of another adventure.